I mean, see, Amir was actually very, very easy to work with. Right.
Do you write backstories for your characters?
Not every song can take the story forward.
Right.
But what a song can maybe do is give you an insight into a character a little bit more.
Yeah.
And with a certain degree of respect for the other person.
Empathy, I guess.
And empathy.
Yeah.
So I felt that it didn't come from that place.
Just a fun question. Between you and Zoya, who do you think is a better filmmaker?
I'll have to say Zoya.
While directing Shah Rukh Khan, just won a national award for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Did you pick up something that you used in your acting?
I would not want to go into a place where crudity becomes a part of Excel's language.
Right.
Demeaning of women.
Yeah.
Or sexualizing of women.
Yeah.
That's a place that I don't want this company to go to.
Okay.
Juicy, spark the happiness, quench your thirst naturally.
Aashik, India's #1 trusted gold buyers. We released pledged gold instant cash payment.
So what about Laksh? What was the germ of that?
That was purely from Dad.
Okay.
He had been to Kargil a year after Operation Vijay had ended. And he was invited there to lay a wreath on the Soldiers' Memorial. And when he was there, he met a senior officer who told him that, it's such a thing that the army is being praised everywhere, rightfully so, for what they managed to accomplish at these heights. Fighting while enemies up in the heights, you're always at a disadvantage, but still managing to recapture positions that were considered almost impossible to do. And he's like, so this is happening on one end, and on the other side of it, every year, the educated Indian chooses more often than not to not really encourage their kids to go into the army anymore. Their priorities of success lie elsewhere.
Right.
So the numbers were dwindling of the educated class that were enlisting into armies, into the armed forces. So my dad stayed with him, and he told him, I'm going to try and write a film that can inspire young people to join the army. And that's how really his journey began with that script. And then when he narrated the script to me, he said, I'm working on this idea. What do you think? And I just immediately connected with what he was trying to say, what he was trying to do. And and that's how it happened.
I associate with your films is that, before a character was defined by maybe their clothes, some bit of, like some facial something, whatever it is. But with Dil Chahta Hai, something very new began. I'm not going to say that it never happened earlier, but something very consistent, which is the hairstyling. Because every character came with a very distinct hairstyle that kind of made me say, this is part of who they are.
Yeah.
How did that happen, Farhan?
I mean, the thing was to just try and break away from the, how do I say this properly? Break away from the star being on screen to an actor being on screen.
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
The fact that, and we grew up in a time where we witnessed that. I mean, all actors and actresses, actresses not so much, they still had a lot more flexibility of what they could do with their hair. But the actors always just had the same hairstyle in every film.
Yeah.
At the most, if they were playing a village bumpkin or something, one shendi they would add, and that would be it. You've seen many films like this. But otherwise it was that one haircut, which was defined as, for example, Mr. Bachchan's look, or Dharamji's look, or the Rajesh Khanna haircut, or Devanand's haircut, the puff, and that kind of stuff. So it just came to be known as that. And even actors leading up to into the 80s and the 90s, everybody had this one hairstyle that defined them. And that was a part of their icon, the iconography of them being a star, was that look. So if somebody went to a barber in Indore, they would see Amir Khan wala haircut, and they would get that haircut. So we wanted to break away from that, so that when people go there, it feels like I'm watching a new guy. I'm not watching Amir play this chap, I'm watching Akash. So that's really kind of where it came from. And I mean, see, Amir was actually very, very easy to work with. I think he'd also come off the back of working with Deepa on Earth. And then in Lagan, he had changed his hair. So he had like kind of moved a little bit ahead when it came to that. It took a little while longer with Saif and with Akshay to be able to do it. But I think once they did it, you know, and they've kind of saw how people were feeling about it. And I'm assuming how other actors must have perceived that to be for them. I think then it kind of just like crept into what was the norm.
Right.
You know, that's what you do now.
Right. But this was a discussion that happened while you guys were talking about the costuming and the styling and all that.
Oh yeah, completely.
Okay.
At a very, very early stage.
And so when did it strike you that listen, all these guys have the same hairstyle? When did that thing happen?
When I met them only. it was pretty much from the time that we met. We're like, we're going to design a look for you.
Okay.
You know, and we'd like you to look a certain way.
Right.
So they were all open to it.
Right.
I think the ones who were most nervous about it were Saif and Akshay.
Right.
At that time. But I mean, they went with it.
Right.
You know, to their credit, I mean, they were like, let's trust this process and do it. So I mean, for them, the hair thing, clothes not so much, because I mean, they're used to wearing different clothes in different films. The other thing that was new for them was the sing sound phenomenon. Again, with the exception of Amir, I don't think anybody else had done sing sound at that time. So they were so used to dubbing, and they were so used to maybe like pitching their voice lower and, you know, like doing that kind of stuff or adding more emotion when they dub. So that was another thing that really like they had to like kind of work around. And I remember Nakul Kamte, who was the sound designer on that, he had told them that, listen, y'all, whenever you're shooting, I'm keeping a pair of headphones here on the side for y'all. Whenever your take is done, just come, sit and listen to yourself. And you'll start getting used to the fact that you're actually sounding amazing. And you're sounding so in the moment that you don't need to like go to the studio and dub something for no reason.
Right.
So it took them like a week, 10 days where they would keep listening to it and feeling better, and that was fine.
Lovely.
Yeah.
You know, I have a couple of questions about your writing. I'm going to mention 2 scenes from Dil Chahta Hai. One is Akshay's mother.
Yeah.
Suhasini Mulay plays the character.
Yeah.
And she's a fascinating mother figure because there's no mention of a father. She's working. She's a working woman. She gets impatient and looks at her watch when Akshay delays her. So she's clearly got, you know, she's kind of, there's something there. And but she's also there for her son when there's an emotional moment or whatever it is. And she's one of the most memorable characters in that film, even though she doesn't have the biggest role. And it made me think, okay, what is her life like? What would have made her come like this? Where is the husband, or what happened? Did she, you know, have an affair and have this guy or whatever?
Right.
Do you write backstories for your characters?
Yeah, I mean, we did write a backstory, and actually, I mean, maybe that little detail is lost on the set, but there is a picture of a dead father somewhere in the background.
Oh, or maybe just slipped my mind.
Yeah. I mean, we had one there. So the whole thing was, I mean, more so for the reason, I mean, of course, she's a working woman. The father also, I mean, if ever you see that picture, I mean, now you can.
Now I'm going to watch it again.
Now you can zoom into stuff and watch it. So the dead, it's like he's passed away young.
Okay.
So she's the one who's really had to run the house, take care of this boy, which also meant, I mean, this is where we were coming from, or at least where I was coming from, in him not having a father, was that, which is why he's the one who needed to grow up the fastest. That's really what it was. You know, I mean, which is why the other two are more boy-like and he's more man-like, because he was the one who had to mature quickly.
Right.
He didn't have the luxury of having a father to kind of take care of him, where he can continue being a little bit of a boy who has time on his hands to do other things. He needs to, I don't know, somehow help his mother out, you know, so that she can like get some time off and take it a bit easy. So that's kind of where that was coming from. But yeah, I mean, I wanted the women in the film all to be, like, I wanted them to be strong.
Yeah.
You know, that was important to me. So, I mean, that played out in, I mean, Sonali Kulkarni's character as well. Even in the character, Dimple's character, you know, in Preeti's character.
You know, there's something weird that occurred to me, and it's somewhat Oedipal, but it's also in growing up, Akshay, he becomes, like, he falls for a mother.
Yeah.
That makes him grow up that much faster as a father. I don't know, let's not go there. Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to ask you is the Dimple character. You know, there's this fantastic scene where, and it's also I'd never seen a scene like that before, which is where she psychoanalyzes Akshay
his
by looking
paintings.
at his painting.
Yeah.
Right, kaske banda hai. Remember that
Yeah.
line, you know, like, so he's like tied everything up inside
Yeah.
himself, not letting anything go. When you write a scene like that, and it involves things like psychoanalysis and slightly abstract art and things like
Yeah.
that, does one part of your mind wonder, will the audience get this?
Like I remember very clearly when that scene, like when I narrate that, I mean, I think you understand that it's going to work when you're narrating it to people.
Right.
Who are listening in, and you can see their reaction because they have, like there's a stillness that comes into your mind and in your body when you're listening to somebody being analyzed like this. And it dawned on me pretty early. I mean, from the time that I wrote that scene and I would narrate, and early in English, before I wrote the Hindi dialogue, whenever I would narrate the script and that scene would come, like you could see a reaction of people being really interested in wanting to know more.
Right.
So I kind of just had an idea that, I mean, if this is how people are feeling,
Right.
I mean, the audience will feel the same. And also a nice way of, like, I mean, in some way, like talking about how your art represents you.
Yeah.
You know, in some, I mean, even in the films that we do.
No,
So, I mean,
that's why I asked you about that scene in Lakshya,
Yeah,
because it's like there's a certain understatedness
Yeah.
in that scene.
That's right.
And we're used to seeing romantic scenes are usually blown up, and I mean this not necessarily in a bad way.
Yeah, sure.
It's
No, I
just
understand.
because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a high moment,
yeah.
and this was just so
Right.
that's you, right? That's what
That's
what
right.
it's coming at. So you inaugurated this multiplex era when there were no multiplexes,
That's
as
right.
you said. When you look back at the so-called golden era, the older films. What are some of the things that you like about them?
What do you refer to as the golden era?
I don't know.
Let me
Like,
ask
for different people, it's like some people say it's a Raj, Dev, Dilip, that trio
Yeah.
or whatever it is. For some people, it's Rajesh Khanna.
Yeah.
You know, it's Amitabh Bachchan. You know, so it's like
Yeah, I feel that every era has had its share of some really incredible work.
right.
You know, and I think every generation tends to romanticize the thing that's kind of just gone before them.
Right.
I think we are one generation, since you're also born in the 70s, you've said.
Yeah.
And by the time we came to our senses in terms of independently watching movies,
Yeah.
we were subjected mostly to movies of the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, which to me is the least golden of all eras. You know, as far I mean, there were few and far. There were some films, of course, that were good, that did come out. Like Masoom is from the 80s, which is an amazing film.
Yeah.
You know, and similarly many other films. But overall, the majority of the quality of film that was being made in the 80s did not live up to what was happening in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s. I think it's probably the weakest in comparison. So for me, when I think of looking back at film, a lot of this comes from the influences that have come to me from my parents here.
Okay.
Like, you know, so for like my mom's absolute love of Guru Dutt, and both of theirs of Yusuf Saab, of Dilip Kumar, and his films, his acting choices. I mean, not only in the films that he did, but even within the film, the choices that he made as an actor in scenes are just, I mean, people should study him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that needs to be done. And the music of that time. I think the music of the 50s and the 60s was very, very special.
Yeah.
I think that is something that we've lost.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know if it'll ever come back or not, but we have lost that.
You know, speaking of this Indochina award, there's
Yeah.
Hakikat, and the one thing that I remember is Zara Si Aahat Hoti Hai, which
Yeah.
is that love song there.
Yeah.
She's waiting for Dharmendra to come back, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember, the rest of the movie is a bit fuzzy, but that song is so crystal clear.
No, the other song that's amazing in it is that, I don't know what's titled on the album, but is that मैं ये सोचकर अपने घर से चला था कि वो रोक लेगी, मना लेगी. Beautiful song.
Yeah, that kind of
Amazing
has
song.
an echo in that border song, I felt, you know, like Sandese Aate Hain, that kind of...
Yeah, but I guess there is, I mean, there is
Yeah.
always that longing of home
Yeah,
and longing
yeah,
of
yeah,
family
yeah,
and
yeah.
the comfort of home and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
warmth of your house
Right.
when you're out there. But yeah, that movie had great songs.
Yeah, but when you as a, I know you haven't directed in a while, but when you kind of say, I need songs in my movie,
Yeah.
Given the fact that your sensibility is different, the song itself is a bit of an artificial element, and it's a director's job to make it look as natural as
Yeah, of
possible
course.
within the world
Yeah.
of the movie.
Yeah.
So, what made you Agar Main Kahun from Laksh?
Weird. I was thinking of it's bizarre. I was actually thinking of that song when you were speaking.
Because I just love that song because first of all, it's a fantastic song as a song level, just as a pure listening
Thank
level.
you.
But when I see that song, it's like it's an encapsulation of how she wants a certain kind of expression of love from him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love you. Why
Yeah.
do I need to why do I need to give you all these flowery things?
Yeah.
Like agar main kahun,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That situation is so one with the movie,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
That's what you strive for.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but I have taken cinematic leaps and liberties in certain places. But again, tried my best to weave it into the narrative in some kind of. I mean, not every song can take the story forward.
Right.
But what a song can maybe do is give you an insight into a character a little bit more.
Yeah.
That is possible. So for example, in Laksh itself, the Main Aisa Kyun Hu song is an insight into how lost.
Yeah. And Prabhudeva's choreography is just incredible. Yeah.
So it allowed you to do that and it made it surreal.
Yeah.
You look like you've gone into the mind of this person. So nothing is natural.
Yeah.
The environment is unnatural. So it feels dreamlike.
Yeah.
Similarly, which was in Wo Ladki Hai Kahan in Dil Chahta Hai. But with Agar Main Kahun, it was a couple of things. One, of course, is just the joy of young love.
Yeah.
Which was one. Him trying to make her feel a little bit kind of better in terms of she's a little bit off with him.
Yeah.
But he's trying to placate her and make her feel.
That classic Rootna Marana.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
There was that. And the third, which was a very interesting layer in that song, which also played out in the drama scenes, is her knowing, not expecting, her knowing that this boy is way more than he knows himself to be.
Right.
So her expectation of saying that if you could do this, or why couldn't you do that, is because she knows that he has it within him.
Yeah.
Which is why she also tells the father that the day he finds that, so it also gave you that, a little bit of that within the song.
Yeah.
That she knows that he's more than he's understood himself to be.
She knows him better than he knows himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You talked a little bit earlier about if a scene is well written, then it helps you act
tremendously.
like he's right. So I'm going to take the scene which practically everybody knows, which is the scene where you meet Nasiruddin Shah in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. It's a scene that's very close to my heart because of various personal reasons, and also the fact that, like life, it's true, it's abrupt, it doesn't have closure.
Yeah.
You think it's going to offer this closure, and when that closure doesn't happen, it just shatters you because you think this boy is going to finally get some kind of thing, but it's like it doesn't happen. But anyway, when a scene, through that scene, which I find you incredible in that scene.
Oh, thank you.
Through that scene, can you kind of give me a little bit of insight into your prep and your process?
I honestly speaking, I actually didn't have that many lines.
Okay.
The lines really belong to Nasir Saab.
Yeah.
He had the lines and he's incredible.
Yeah.
So just to sit, to listen to him, it was easy to react, easy to respond to that. What became difficult in that scene was the having to do it over. That's because that scene, it cannot be a performance. It had to feel like the boy is hearing this for the first time. And the more we would have to do it, then somehow that actor bone kicks in.
Okay.
In terms of, okay, I've reacted this way before, should I try something else?
Right.
And then performance comes into it. But the first couple of times, it feels more natural because he's also speaking this to you for the first time. We didn't rehearse at all.
Right.
I mean, the only thing we rehearsed was he's going to sit there, I'm going to sit here for lighting. What that'll be like,
blocking,
because there's no movement. We're just sitting. So there was that. But, it was responding to him, reacting to him. And in some way, I don't know, somehow emotionally being transported back to, I guess, my childhood, my questions that I had for my father, when I was younger, not knowing what had happened and why him and my mum were not together. So I think it tapped into that somewhere, which somehow came out in that scene. But again, not in a conscious way, But I mean, I remember feeling very emotional when that scene was being shot, and not having to pretend to be emotional at all. There was no need to like, I should cry, or it just all came very, very naturally, and what you saw is what we got.
Because the thing is, I distinctly remember being very impressed by the fact that there was a lot of shots that were really up close.
Yeah.
And you were just being so naked and true. Like, I was just like, he's holding it.
Right.
I guess that also comes from the fact that at that time, the fact that you were an actor hadn't yet registered fully.
Right.
You know, so it's like the fact that you're doing that.
Right, sure.
Now, if I saw that, I'd probably like, oh, he's been acting for a long time kind of a thing.
That's why I take these long breaks, you see, between films.
But you know what I'm saying, right? It's
Yeah, of course.
And then you see a performance like that. I mean, it's not that Rock On is...
You know, also, I mean, but in all fairness, also it works so amazingly well in that film is because of the kind of guy that he is before leading up to it.
Yeah, the contrast.
That makes a huge difference. So it hits you a little bit harder in the gut. You know, as opposed to a guy who's been struggling with this through the film. You wouldn't have felt it so much.
Right. Now, when the same Nasiruddin Shah that you've acted with later offers this criticism that he's not a big fan of your films or your acting, you know, there are two types of criticism. One that comes through Twitter or something like that. I'm not saying that's invalid, but that comes from somebody who is maybe Aam Janta, like general public, and they probably don't know the craft or this or that, but they're just giving their gut reaction to this person is acting well, this person is not acting well. But when criticism comes from somebody who is associated with the art and is known for their excellence in that particular art form, how do you react to that?
Well, I mean, I'm being very honest with you, it didn't feel good when I read it. But then you have to just take it in your stride. I mean, it's his opinion.
Sure.
You know, and I mean, to me, in those moments, what's important is I can sit and really maybe focus on bringing myself down or second guessing myself and my choices in what I do. Or then just live with the fact that, okay, this is how one person who I respect and who I admire as an actor feels, and just focus on people who are appreciating what I'm doing.
Right.
You know, and I mean, some degree of, like you're saying, when it comes from somebody who you respect, I mean, of course, but then there are people who you respect who also praise you.
Right.
You know, so you have to take all of it in your stride in some kind of way.
Right. But where I was curious is, did one part of you want to ask him and say, okay, so tell me where I'm going wrong?
No, I didn't actually. No,
okay.
I'll tell you why. I like
not in a defensive way.
No, not defensive.
But like
I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. The thing is that if now I think of myself, I've been now doing films for 25 years. Right. There are certain actors, directors, writers that I've known who have debuted maybe 10 years after me and 15 years after me. If there is something in their work that I feel, just from my observation, that, you know, this could be better, or that I have this piece of advice from my experience to give them, genuinely, I would pick up the phone and call them. Or I would say, I'd like to meet you, and sit down and have a conversation with a person who I care about in a sensitive way, because you're going into somebody's creative process and giving them constructive feedback from your point of view. But it has to be done with a certain degree of love and with a certain degree of respect for the other person.
Empathy, I guess.
And empathy. So I felt that it didn't come from that place. You know, I just felt it was like a statement just thrown out publicly. And I felt that then this person doesn't respect you. You know, so why should I reach out to a person who doesn't respect me and ask them, why are you saying this? Because it was very clear to me that if he really genuinely did feel that, I mean, he knows my dad, he knows Shabana, he knows my mom, he knows me. You know, we worked together on Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara as well. So it would have been the easiest thing for him to say, I'd like to speak to you, why don't you come over? I would have happily gone. I would have learned something from him, but it didn't happen that way. And I was just like, that's what it is.
Right. You know, congratulations, by the way, because I just realized that it's a quarter century.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it's like 2000, year 2000.
Yeah.
And
no, next year will be 25 years exactly.
2001. Right. Yeah, but it's still, you know, you started working.
Yeah, in 2000.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Just a fun question. Between you and Zoya, who do you think is a better filmmaker?
I'll have to say Zoya.
Because she's made more films?
Sorry?
Because she's made more films?
No, I do feel that she has she's definitely a way more, she's a way better writer. I feel the way she writes, I depend tremendously on her when I'm writing characters. So that knack she does have. See, filmmaking is very like objective and subjective. You know what I mean? Like, so that is tough to say. I love her movies. I can only hope that she loves mine. But I love all her movies. So I'll obviously say she's a better film.
When you see, is there anything in common that you see between your films and when you see your dad's writing or his films? Is there some thread that you see, oh right, this is something that my dad would have done?
No, I'm not conscious of it.
Not conscious
No,
of it?
not at all.
Okay. Dawn 2, your last directorial venture, was in 2011.
11, that's right.
Is there nothing that you found, Farhan, after that made you say, I want to direct like material?
No, it's not that. I somehow, like I said, when Rock On happened, post that, like with a Luck by Chance, then going into a Kartik calling Kartik, into Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, into a Bhag Milka Bhag, you know, then into a Wazir, into a Sky is Pink. Like there was just this flow of work that happened, which felt really exciting to me. It felt like I was getting to do something new, do something different. And I was enjoying it, you know. So I was like, why should I not do something that I'm really enjoying doing in lieu of finding something to do? So that's really, so I think the pandemic was when the reset happened for me.
Okay.
You know, I suddenly, like, there was no work happening. And I was like, okay, now what do I want to do next? I'd like to direct. You know, so it started off by actually writing Jile Zara is where it began. So, I mean, this process of wanting to direct now is lasted me about 3.5 years of coming really close to directing and then it not happening for valid reasons, but not happening. So now I find myself again at the precipice of starting at the end of this year.
That's Dawn 3.
Dawn 3, yes.
Right. And Jile Zara is one of those, again, all dates not happening.
I mean, yeah, I've also reached a place in life where I leave things to the cosmos.
To luck by chance.
To luck by chance. That it'll happen when the time is right.
Right. So is there one part of you that wants to make something that will break out of this Dawn universe and say, you know, I made Dil Chahta Hai and I made Laksh.
Yeah.
I want to create something that is kind of, not that, again, it's not that this is any lesser, but something that is going to tell a more personal story.
No, 100%. I mean, that's what Jile Zara was.
Right.
You know, and it's not only Jile Zara or Dawn. I'd also like to believe, you know, that the work that I do, even as an actor, represents me creatively.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be a film that I direct.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, a film like 120, Bahadur, a film like Sky is Pink, or a film like Shaadi Ke Side Effects, they're different genre films, you know, and to me, they're equally a part of my creative extension to the world, you know, than directing is.
Yeah. There's a line about corn in Shaadi Ke Side Effects that suddenly came to mind. I'm not going to repeat it now.
Right.
About eating corn? Spinach and corn or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of
best avoided.
Best avoided. While directing Shah Rukh Khan, you know, just won a national award for Best Actor. Did you pick up something that you used in your acting?
Yeah, you learn something in a subliminal way from every single person you work with.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, I've learned, I'm 100%, there's something that's come from his personality or his working personality.
Right.
You know, and his work ethic, that must have seeped in. It's not possible.
Right.
I've worked very closely with him, you know, on 2 films. I've thoroughly enjoyed working on both those films with him. He's a great guy to work with. And I mean, I guess, just his love of movies. I mean, not that one doesn't have that.
Right.
But when you work with people who have that infectious love for things that they do, I mean, that keeps you going and it like kind of inspires you as well.
Is there a scene where, like, can you name what he did in a particular scene that completely took you aback? I'm sure there are many such scenes, but something that...
like for me, it was really interesting. I remember the first Dawn. There's that moment in the beginning, which was also in the original 78 Dawn, when he says, "Mujhe uske joote achhe nahi lage," right? And that had only come once in that film, where he kills Ramesh or somebody. He kills him and he said, "I didn't like his shoes." And that scene went. But in this film, when Priyanka and Shah Rukh or Roma and Dawn go to meet Deepu in school, and he has no idea what Deepu looks like actually, right? So he's just standing there looking around, and Deepu recognizes him because he looks like Vijay Chacha.
Right.
And he says, "Arey Vijay Chacha," and he comes running to him and he's pretending that he's seeing him after so long. So in that, he was just like, you look like a gentleman. That was the kind of dialogue that there was. And he ad-libbed in that, which was really interesting because he said, "Arey, you're looking like a proper gentleman now." And then he said, like, new uniform, and he looks down and he says, new shoes. So the new shoes, it was such an interesting thing for him to bring back as a character that he notices people's shoes, which wasn't in the script. So to me, that kind of stuff.
That's also involvement.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, that's like him making his kind of character and building it and picking on those certain things. So it was a nice learning, that you can find these little things that you're doing as a character and add them in.
So in Excel Entertainment, your company, there's this ecosystem. There's Rima, there's Zoya, there's you, there's probably like your dad also. Now there's a certain kind of sensibility, right? All of you share because there's, like we talked earlier, is there the danger of many people thinking alike that might prevent Excel from making a different kind of film that might burst out?
So I don't think anybody can predict what's going to burst out. It's tough to predict. And the other thing that you can only do is you can do genuinely what you're good at.
Right.
And what you're comfortable doing. The minute you're not comfortable making something that's going to show, because you'll be doing a very non-organic, borrowed version of somebody else's formula is what's going to happen.
Right.
So I think being true to yourself firstly is the first serious calling of any artist. As producers, we work with different directors, whose calling is different in terms of different kind of movies. Their sensibilities are different, and that we don't get in the way of.
Right.
I mean, for whatever it's worth, I mean, I love the franchise, I love the films, but I could never make those movies like Fukre.
Right.
I could not make those films. But I love those films when they're made.
I get that. I guess that answers my question because I was kind of wondering if when is there, like, do you need to collaborate with people who don't think like you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, as a company, for a company to grow, you have to be able to bring in as many diverse ideas and sensibilities as you can, but which do not rankle the core identity of your company.
Right.
Like, I would not want to go into a place where crudity becomes a part of Excel's language.
Right.
I mean, to me, that's just a no-go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or demeaning of women. Or sexualizing of women. That's a place that I don't want this company to go to.
Okay.
So no matter what somebody may bring me, it might be the most mind-blowing thing in the world. I'll draw a line when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And finally, when there's these post Bahubali era that people say where there's big films I thought this was, from the teaser that I saw, I thought this was a very classy version of a larger than life film. It looked fantastic.
Thank you.
But there's also these other larger than life films that are
the fantastical
huge,
ones.
The fantastical ones that, like KGF and like Bahubali and all these RRR and all these films, and they do so well everywhere. Do you think, and these have placed, we started talking about Dil Chahta Hai, the multiplex film, so we're coming back there. These are the films that have made the multiplex film a bit of a shaky thing today. Like, like what used to be called the multiplex film, what used to make a certain amount of money, those have come to a slightly shaky place today in terms of, can this movie be made, can this movie be released? What do you feel about that?
I genuinely feel that everything is cyclical. I feel what is working today in a couple of years will feel like, oh my God, like, let's move on to something. I feel we are already beginning to see the first stage of a change.
Okay.
I would imagine. It's been a really long time since we've had like a resounding love story success. And I feel that will change the language again. It will now interest people in wanting to do romance. I mean, it's done incredibly well, and it's a wonderful thing. I'm really happy for Mohit. I'm really happy for Aneet and for Ahan and for Adi. You know, and again, it's going to let people know, because 5 years ago, there would be conversations, I'm sure, that, you know, where people, love stories don't work anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and now suddenly it'll be like, my God, everybody, let's make a love story. So things are cyclical, you know, and there will come a time where people will tire of right now what we have as the strongman syndrome that's kind of going on. You know, there will come a time where people will want to move on to it and again get into something that maybe is a little bit tender, a little softer, you know, or I don't know, maybe like dramas will come back in a different kind of way. But the audience wants to be refreshed once in a while, time and again. You know, I mean, there's like, I was reading something like any film which is again formulaic in its nature.
Right.
I mean, eventually like the laws of diminishing utility start applying to it, and that happens with film as well.
Right. So all the best for Exo
Thank you so much.
Bahadur, and
Thank you.
Like looking forward to Dawn 3.
Thank you.
And hopefully Jile Zara
Yes, thank you.
reaches its destination.
Yes, I'm sure it will someday.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Juicy, spark the happiness, quench your thirst naturally.
Aashik, India's #1 trusted gold buyers. We release pledged gold instant cash payment.